Hello and welcome to a fabulous Tuesday on Crypt. Oh my God, we have the market going like woohoo, which is why I always say don't over lever. But today we've got some exciting fundraising announcements, some really interesting applications of that capital that they're bringing in, as well as one of the more exciting technological releases that we've seen in a long time. Let's hop right in. Bang! So this news is all over the place, and I'm not going to harp on it for too long. But Polymarket just raised one hell of a round with the owner of the New York Stock Exchange, the Intercontinental Exchange, or ICE, and you can see why they're not advertising it as such in the headlines, taking a massive stake in Polymarket. This is now valuing Polymarket at about $8 billion, which is absolutely wild given its crypto native roots and the very young age of its founder, Shane Copland. Of course, Shane comes out and he talks about some of their previous fundraisers. And one thing to note is just look at this cap table. Look at the investors. I mean, there's just fun people in here like, oh, Rick Rubin and Anthony Kiedis, like holy moly. But of course, we have massive things like Founders Fund, which is Peter Thiel, Coinbase, Dragonfly, a lot of familiar names. So super cool. And with all that being said, it's a good time to remind everyone that, hey, Polymarket is indeed coming to the United States in short order. So that's pretty cool. And get ready for the explosion of NFL Sunday betting on Polymarket, which, unlike Kalshi, is actually settled on chain and is crypto native. So huzzah to them for that. Now, one thing to note here is just this wild explosion of predictions markets, which are basically the capacity to make a market out of anything. These are wildly expansive. Polymarket has already gone into next quarter earnings and report releases for companies like Apple, major equities, and things of that nature. But the rationale behind why this is exploding so much is just holy moly. The US dollar has roughly lost over 10% of its value this year. Further projections expect another 10% to be lost within 2026. And with the prices of daily things exploding, like groceries, coffee is absolutely going through the roof, well, there's no wonder why people are turning towards other avenues. Salaries are not keeping pace with this. Earnings have not gone up. So people are putting in the same amount of work for significantly less return these days. And this is a generational shift in the hopium to try to make something out of the daily grind, out of the opportunities that come forth in life. The dollar is being actively destroyed in real time, and we are just watching it happen day after day. Now, while the Polymarket capital raise definitely takes front and center in the news, there is something I noticed via an announcement as well today, which is that Meanwhile Life has announced an $82 million raise in funding. So this is by Juan Ventures, Bain Capital, Crypto, Pantera. These are more crypto focused funds. But what Meanwhile is just here in the upper left-hand corner if you really want to dive in. And we're talking about Bitcoin life insurance. So that is pretty fascinating. With Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac considering opening up Bitcoin as collateral for a mortgage, with Bitcoin acting as life insurance, we're starting to develop a world where Bitcoin holders can retain their savings and be able to get some of the necessary things in life. As it stands today, Bitcoin positions you really well to fight this dollar devaluing trend that's happening. However, to live your life, to pay your bills, to do all these things and earn yield, you can't really do this with Bitcoin. You can just kind of hold on to it and just wait for it to appreciate, and maybe you sell one day, maybe you borrow against it at a pretty high rate. And of course, it's over collateralized, like 2 to 1. So you need about 2 Bitcoin to take out $125,000. So this gets to be very tough for people that want that long-term savings capability, but also want to hold onto their Bitcoin. And the burgeoning of products that are so essential, like life insurance, I mean, we really need health insurance as well, to be Bitcoin denominated is something of note. This means that people can continue to hold and live at the same time. Now, on to the biggest announcement and the most exciting thing that I've seen in a long time is ZK Sync coming out with their Atlas upgrade. Now, what's going on here? I've talked a lot about zero knowledge proofs. They are a wide-reaching solution for scaling blockchain infrastructure and also, most importantly, protecting our information. All of these honeypots of data collection that take our names, our addresses, our phone numbers, everything out of which this spam world that we live in is derived is the hacking and the exploitation of our private data. ZK fixes this. Zero knowledge technology allows an entity to ask a question and receive an answer as yes or no, proven and verifiable. Let's take accredited investor rules, for example, where you have to meet certain criteria to invest in an asset. As of today, you need a CPA or somebody to attest to your full net worth, along with your name and everything going on with it. We can do this with identity as well to say, hey, Is it Graham that's trying to log in? And I can sign on with my private key and I can submit a proof that says, yes, this is him, but you don't need to know any information attached. What this means for blockchains is that we can say goodbye to the era of bridges, which require all sorts of additional risk. They require their own liquidity to have padding on both sides of the bridge to move assets across. And basically what we can do here is attest to a blockchain, let's say Ethereum, that something is provably true. Let's say I want to take out a loan against my Bitcoin. I have $1 million worth of Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain, and I go to Aave and I want to take out a $500,000 loan. That's a 2-to-1 ratio, right? Well, instead of having to submit it to the Aave blockchain, I can now submit a proof from the Bitcoin blockchain that says, yes, this wallet holds that amount of money, and I can move forward with that loan, with the Bitcoin being locked locally. Not your keys, not your coins, and now you don't need to move across chains. You can do this across the internet to say, hey, look, when this video entered the internet, was it verified by the creator? Let's say I'm an academic writing a paper. When I submit the paper, I can use biometric identities like the trusted encrypted enclave on your phone to say, hey, look, I, Graham, authored this paper and I submitted to the internet. From that point forward, anytime someone wants to check if it has been altered or adjusted, you can follow that along in the chain of events that happen on chain and say, hey, is Graham the author and has this been adulterated? If only the initial version that I submitted will come back as yes via a ZK proof. What this does is allows people to prove the answer to a question without revealing the information behind that question. So this is really fun. And as they say here on ZK Sync, incorruptible finance now in real time. Now, what we're looking at here is, look, they've got this dashboard and it's absolutely off the hook. What we're looking at is transactions per second of ZK proofs. So these are basically wrapped up pieces of information that are hashed just like you would do with money on chain. And a prover can come out and just say, yes, these are true. No, they're not. Whatever that is in regards to is irrelevant. But here they're using a real-time oracle to show the price of Apple. So they're proving that this price of Apple on chain is indeed true. This means that other chains can use this oracle to say, make Apple shares tradable on chain, right? And what we can not only look at is the price real, but is the underlying asset also locked up somewhere in some sort of vault? And this is happening very quickly and it's cheap and it's just truly amazing technology that will change the world. This is where blockchain becomes the truth layer for the internet. As much as it is taking over finance, it will verify and back up truth and realities. They go on to say here, the global digital economy can't run on a single mega chain. Banks, businesses, institutions, they will all operate their own chains, private where needed, and connect directly via ZK proofs, not intermediaries. This requires high performance, obviously, and real-time proofs. Atlas delivers both. You've got to have quick turnover and high valued proof. Now, Atlas combines a new ultra high performance sequencer, an EVM equivalent execution environment for ZK, and Airbender, the world's fastest open source risk V prover. The prover is what is basically looking at these proofs and saying, are they actually valid or are they fraudulent? So this is a mega upgrade. And Airbender proves transactions for as little as 0.0001 per transfer. So anytime you call up a piece of data and say, hey, can I rely on this, yay or nay? This is the cost. It's very negligible. Now, this will eliminate tons of technology that's been built to sort of get around the fact that zero knowledge has not been developed for a very long time. This is something that's been worked on, honestly, since the very beginning of Bitcoin. Massive amounts of funding have gone into zero knowledge, but this allows us to obscure away our private, our very juicy and useful data and retain the sovereignty that we deserve. No longer should entities be required to just hold enormous ledgers of our private information because, again, they get exploited all the time and there's no repercussions for those exploits. They just say, hey, you've been pwned. You're going to get scammed now for the rest of your life. I'm sorry. You should either change your number, change your email address, change your name. And this is happening to Social Security as well. So this is absolutely amazing. And this does indeed mark a new era of crypto utility where multiple chains can run in parallel. And instead of having to bridge assets across and make transactions, you can literally go from one chain to another and say, hey, look, do these assets exist? Does this information exist? Can Graham access the information that you have behind a very robust firewall? Yes, he can. Here's the information. Pull it back. And again, hide all of that data via a literally zero knowledge proof. So this is truly exciting times, and it does beget all sorts of new developments and an explosion of verifiability. And there is no better place to exemplify this than the state of video online. We can now say, hey, was this generated by an AI? Was this generated by a person? Cameras like Sony and Leica already put a cryptographic hash on the camera side. So I can register myself, I can take a picture, and it can say, yes, Graham took this. Now for the rest of time, as that image exists online, we can verify, is this Graham's image or has it been altered? And this becomes extremely more relevant because we are finding that AIs can adjust micro information pixel by pixel in an image to transmit information from one AI to another. So again, Graham has taken this picture. Has this picture been altered? Have any of the pixel information been adjusted? Is there a secret piece of code sitting inside this photo? Very recently, there was an iOS exploit where photographs were being sent on iPhone and they could execute malware code. So inside an image sent to your phone, there was an executable file to steal your funds. These are the things that we want to prevent. So you can see that the examples are rather endless and that this is a massive, massive technological achievement. So fuck yes to ZK Sync, and may we move into a new world of verifiable digital reality. As we bring the metaverse into reality, this is the kind of back-end technology that we are going to need. Trust and verifiability without having to reveal our sweet, sweet data juice. Now, that being said, again, don't over-lever because markets are volatile. Stay safe out there. Give me a like and a sub because it means all the world, and I will see you tomorrow.